Hey everybody, I have Taylor Wood on the channel today. He's a former electrical engineer who now sells guns and ammo online. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. And I wanted to have him on the show because him and I met at the ClickFunnels 2 Comma Club Award. We both received one. His is in the background. And I wanted to have him on just to share his experience as formerly having a 9-to-5 job to now being an entrepreneur, being a man of faith, being a family man, and how he balances all of that. I know a lot of my clients and viewers have the 9-to-5, they have the stability, but they want to go into entrepreneurship. They want to see that growth and that, potential being reached. And so Taylor, thanks for coming on the channel. And I'd love to start if you could just share a little bit about your background, how you became an electrical engineer, and really the breaking point between what led you to saying, I like my job, but I would rather seek entrepreneurship, seek uncertainty, seek that discomfort in a sense, leaving the comfort zone of my job and starting this business, selling, like I said, guns and ammo online.
Yeah, for sure, Alex. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to talk to you. As you mentioned, we connected down in Orlando, got to know each other, and had a lot of things in common. So really excited to be here today and talk about kind of my journey from growing up, small town kid. Dad was an electrical contractor, started his own business. I worked with him as I grew up, summers and after school and things like that. Kind of learned the industry and not really sure where I wanted to go after high school, but had some friends that were going to study engineering. I said, well, they've got electrical engineering, might as well try that. And so I did, and that kind of led me into the power sector of engineering, and really fell in love with that. Worked with Georgia has what are called electric membership cooperations, and so I worked directly with the EMCs at the power companies, and that was a lot of fun. Loved that job. A lot of good relationships built there. But even as I was in college and I was studying to become an electrical engineer, and staying up late and busting your tail, really, right? You're in college, your late nights in the library and all of this stuff, and I knew that I was working towards a goal, right? So I'm working towards a goal. And once I graduated, that was one goal checked off. Next goal, get a job, right? I was married. Me and my wife Charlie got married my last year in college, and so first goal out of college is actually get a real job, right? So got a real job, and worked in the nuclear power consulting world for about 18 months, and it was a great job as well. Learned a ton. It was challenging. It was all the things, but it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of hours, a lot of in your cubicle desk calculations and analyses and all these sort of things. And my heart was back in my hometown. My wife and I grew up in the same area, went to the same high school.
High school sweethearts, right?
High school sweethearts, that's right. Yeah, dated all through high school. So anyway, we both wanted to be back with our family. We knew we wanted to be back with our family, so started exploring some opportunities in our hometown area, and landed one, and that kind of stayed at that job for about 9 years, and that's where I worked with the EMCs in Georgia and was a liaison between our company, which did transmission and distribution, construction, maintenance, operation for the EMCs on their behalf. So it was a really cool company, really cool opportunity. And but always in the back of my mind, I'm working towards my next goal. Like, what's my next goal?
I was going to say, where's the but? Because you get out of college, you have your high school sweetheart, you have this career for 10 years, and that's when most people just really set in, they get comfortable in that 9-to-5, and they start counting down until they're 65 and they can touch that 401k. But like I said, but what led you to say, this is okay, it's going well, but I need to make this transition into entrepreneurship?
Yeah. And like I mentioned, like as I was growing up, I always had I'm very goal focused, and had something more inside of me than just wanting to sit at a cubicle desk all day. The last job I was in, it was more relational, which I really loved, and that was great. But at the same time, still in the back of my mind, like my goal was never to just punch a clock and drive to Atlanta and do those sort of things. So Atlanta is about an hour from me, and our office was in Atlanta. On some days it's 2 hours, depending on how the traffic goes. And so anyway, there was an entrepreneurial spark that I had, as I was growing up, and just knowing that like there's more to life than like working for someone else. And if I'm gonna invest and from a balance standpoint too, like you're investing all this time away from your family and investing into a business, I would much rather that be my business that I can continue and leave a legacy with, and serve people in the way that I would want to serve them, and those sort of things. So So yeah, everything was going great, and I loved it. But at the same time, like I just knew that there was more out there for me, and had a kind of a desire to, and seeking another challenge, right? Goal oriented. Like I checked a few boxes, and I liked that. I liked that I checked a few boxes. I'm very thankful for the opportunities that I've had as an engineer, and graduating from tech, getting my professional engineer's license, and working at that company for 10 years, and was really on track to kind of move up in the company. But at the same time, like, well, what's after that? Like more time in Atlanta? Like, I don't know if that's for me. More time in the office? I don't know if that's for me. So 2018, I started selling on Amazon. Just kind of, early mornings, late nights, on the weekends. I'd heard about it from some, just probably a random podcast, like, oh, you can sell on Amazon too. And I was like, me? Really? So, kind of dove into that, learned about it. This was when we have 4 children now, but we had, 2 little ones at the time, and expecting our third. And so I'm kind of figuring all this stuff out before they wake up, after they go to bed, and really got into, selling online and things like that. So it's been a fun ride. It's been a heck of a transition though, from electrical engineering to figuring out how to sell online.
Absolutely. That was my next question, where you started that on the side in about 2018 or so, but at what point did you think, okay, this can be my full-time income, especially like you're saying, you have mouths to feed. I think a lot of people as entrepreneurs, I mean, I'm engaged, I have a fiance, but I don't have kids yet. But I imagine as the man of a household, you have a wife, 4 kids, you're like, oof, like if I fail myself, but more importantly, I fail them. And I'm leaving this stability to go into entrepreneurship that has no rule book, that has no guarantees. And so what led you to say, okay, this is a side hustle, but then after that point, that being an actual full-time business where you think, okay, let me put my time into this and scale that business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that was probably, that was the most critical discussion for my wife and I was, I'm doing this thing on the side. And as it started, everything starts as it starts. It starts slow. You're figuring things out. It grows a little bit more. 2020 came, and I was at a kind of a pivotal point in my business where I'd been doing it for about a full year to a year and a half or so, something like that. And I realized that I was just on Amazon at the time, right? Just on Amazon. And very thankful for the opportunities on Amazon. But at the end of the day, I'm just, Amazon owns my customer base. So I didn't really have a business that I found out pretty quickly after about 18 months. I didn't have a business. I just had an Amazon store, and I was hoping, and I was using Amazon's traffic and things like that without really building a brand for myself. So when I figured that out, I really transitioned into, okay, how do I go about this from building my own brand? How do I do this off of Amazon on my own? So this was occurring around the same time as COVID was happening. So COVID 2020, things started changing, across the political landscape, socially. And well, let me back up one step. So 2018 started, full year. 2019, my sister passed away. She was 29, and it was devastating for our family. She had an opioid addiction that she had been battling for years and years, and so she was in recovery and relapsed. And so, long story short, she passed away, and it was really a shock to me. Here I was in this engineering profession that I enjoyed, but knew there was something more for me. I didn't want to work the rest of my life at this. In a cubicle setting or working for somebody else when I had these other desires and dreams and goals. So, it was kind of at the point of like, I need to make a decision. And I also felt myself grabbing for community at that point, right? So like, go through a hardship like that, near family death, like people operate in two different ways, isolation or they want community. And I did both, right? Like I wanted isolation by myself at first as a process, and then as the healing takes place, like I wanted community. And so as I'm working off of Amazon in this business sense over here, I'm working into building an online community and a brand for our business. And it was kind of great timing in terms of the economic landscape, the political landscape, everybody was at home and on their phones and their computers in March of 2020. We started a campaign, and this was only 6 months after my sister had passed away, and we started a campaign and it really took off. So 2020 was really when I thought, like, okay, this could actually turn into something where that I could exit the corporate landscape, the corporate world, and pursue a dream, a passion, an idea that I had for entrepreneurship and selling things online. And really, I'm glad we're talking about this. What I'm really, really passionate about, and it's been really instrumental in my business and allowing me to exit and pursue this path in e-commerce, is not just e-commerce, right? So I had one shift earlier on when I told you, like, I figured out that I wasn't in business for myself. I was really just an appendage of Amazon's business. So then I shifted into, well, how do I build my own brand, my own website, and all these things? Well, from there, like, I realized that I was technically just hoping that somebody would come in my door and buy, right? So I'm selling one-off products. I'm selling this product and this product, and we're in the guns and ammo niche, like you said, and we have great customer retention, people coming back and buying, things like that. But at the same time, I knew that I was out of business until my next customer came through the door. So another pivotal point for me, one thing I'm very passionate about, is building that online community, building a community, even if it's not online, but building a community is very important to me. Having a community is very important to me. And ours happens to be a paid community. And that paid community is on a subscription basis, it's a membership basis. And when all of those things kind of came together in 2020, that really allowed me to make the decision and have those conversations with my wife and start laying the groundwork so that I could leave the corporate atmosphere and pursue a dream and a goal, like I said. And so in late 2021, left the corporate world and have been doing this since then. So
that's excellent. No, thank you for sharing that, Taylor. And I think a lot of people watching this would really love to dive into the mindset, because any decision that's made, it's not just your decision. Like I said, it's a decision about your family, it's about your kids, and I'm sure you had a lot of discussions with your wife. And so let's say 7 years ago, 2016, 2017, you have the entrepreneurial bug, but you haven't taken the leap yet. You haven't started that Amazon side hustle. So if you were, let's say, looking at Taylor 7 years ago, because a lot of my viewers are in that exact position right now. They have a passion, they have a skill that they want to turn into a business, but they haven't just taken that leap of faith. I call it, they're trying to wait for the perfect time. It's a syndrome. Like, they're going to be like, oh, I would love to start my business right now, but this obstacle, money, resources, time. But if you're resourceful, you can make anything happen. So 7 years ago, if you had one piece of advice to give that Taylor, that version of you, who was in the job, who had the stability, maybe if you could move faster, don't overthink, take action, what piece of advice would you give Taylor 7 years ago?
Yeah, that's a great question too. And I am the type of person that that jumps, right? I jump out of the plane and I figure out, like, okay, do I still have my parachute with me as I get out the door, right? So like there's a book, it says shoot first, aim later, something. Yeah, they shoot first, aim later. So I'm more in the mindset of that person, of that persona. So 7 years ago, 8 years ago, even as I was in college, like, I'm thinking about, like, okay, I know that I'm wanting to go get this job, but like, what else can I do? Like, I want to be an engineer, but what else can I do? Real estate sounds cool. Like, I know some people that are in real estate, so I'm starting to learn about real estate, and I go down that path for a little while, and I love real estate, but that kind of got me involved in that. So, and then I hear about Amazon, right? And okay, well, what's this bill about Amazon? So every week I'd come home with my wife, and we'd sit down and talk, and I'd say, okay, look, what about this idea? Like, what do you think about this? Like, this sounds really cool. And you kind of get into trouble that way, right? Because you start all these, like, they call them like half-built bridges, right? You start on this path and you don't finish anything, and you have shiny object syndrome, right? You've heard that term before. So, Amazon sounds good, eBay sounds good, Shopify is where it's at. Let's get on ClickFunnels too. Like, we definitely have to have a webinar, like all the things, right? So my advice would be to be critical about what you're going to pursue, do your research, do your analysis, talk with great people like you that have done these things before. Like, find out who you want to emulate or be like, or has a business like you would love to have one day, and ask them, what should I focus on, right? And then do that thing until the bridge is finished. So finish that bridge. Once that bridge is finished, make sure everything is good with the bridge, structurally sound, it's working as it should, and then invest in that next bridge and focus on it.
Instead of having 10 bridges that are like almost there, they're like right on the edge, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's a mistake that so many new entrepreneurs make, is that they lack focus. And any successful entrepreneur, whether they're a millionaire, billionaire, I've gotten advice from billionaires who've told me, focus on one niche and crush it. Like, don't be mediocre at 5 businesses, because again, if you have 5 businesses, 5 bridges that you're trying to build, there's someone in every single industry, that's their business. Yeah. They're spending 7 days a week, 40, 80 hours a week, whatever it is, on mastering that industry, e-commerce, marketing, consulting, real estate. So anybody that thinks they can just start 5 businesses and make them all successful, I hate to tell you, you're not Elon Musk. You're not. And none of us are, and that's okay. You know, we have families, he works like 150 hours a week, we work like 40, 50, 60 at most. So focus on one thing, make that successful, make that a well-oiled machine. Don't be a business operator. Turn that into a real business. Be a business owner where other people are running the day-to-day. You're managing the strategy of that business. Then, like you're saying, focus on the next business, focus on the next endeavor. And then that's why you see entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, who at 55, 60 years old, they do have 5, 6, 7 businesses that are all running smoothly, but they do go one by one, mastering essentially one art, one martial art, jiu-jitsu, then boxing, then wrestling. That's a good analogy for, again, people thinking, let me just start all of these at once. I mean, it's going to take you 4 or 5 times longer to master every single art, every single industry, every single skill in business if you try them all at once. And so I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, great point. It's a struggle. Like, I'm not saying that I have that all together all the time, right? It's a struggle for me, even as but I guess I'm narrowing my focus down. So like, e-commerce is where I live right now. I enjoy e-commerce and building communities, but I still catch myself like, oh, I could build a site like that. Like, I could build a site and spin off of this, and so I'm narrowing my
if
focus.
If they can do it, I can do it. Which is a healthy mindset when you're starting out. But like you're saying, the shiny object syndrome, it happens with working out. You have Orange Theory, Pilates, heavy lifting, light lifting, running, marathons. I mean, there's a lot of ways to cook a steak, to do whatever you want to do. There's a lot of ways to eat and still look great and be healthy. And so, yeah, that's a great point. Just focus on a niche, crush it, then move on to the next one. But you also sell a very, I would say, interesting, fun product. You sell guns and ammo as well on USA Go. And so how do you navigate all the regulations, and like, how does that work? I've never had a client or never worked with anybody or even spoken to somebody that literally said, I sell guns and ammo. You're like the movie War Dogs with Jonah Hill. And so, like, how does that work? What do you sell? And again, how does your business model operate?
That's another good question that I'm excited to answer. Guns and ammo is something that if I'd have known what I know now, I may have thought in a little different way to go about it to start with. I'm not saying I wouldn't have done it, but the only people that want me to be in business are other gun owners. And as you know, like, that seems to be a group that's always being attacked. So that there's challenges. There's challenges around selling guns and ammo. Obviously, it's a very serious thing to do. And so we don't take that lightly. There are numerous checks that we have in place and partnerships with people that helps us ensure that we are following ATF guidelines, rules and regulations, state and local jurisdictions, and restrictions on things such as magazines, firearms, ammunition, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of red tape, if you want to use that kind of terminology, regarding, revolving around selling guns and ammunition. That it's been a learning curve for sure to figure out and to get ahead of and to stay on top of. But we sell guns, ammunition, optics, everything related to a gun owner, what you might need. And so I think we're up to about 50,000 SKUs at usago.org, and anything you'd like. We operate as a membership community. So I mentioned that in 2020 I built an online community, and the online community was built around and focused on safety, self-defense, firearms training. And so that has been something that I've grown, and my team has grown over the last few years into USA Go. USA Go is United States Association of Gun Owners. And so we sell both publicly to non-members and members. We have a great community, a private community for members, training series, training vault with all sorts of content to educate not just the newbie or the veterans, but everybody from you want to conceal carry, you want to buy your first gun, what should you do, how should you go about that, all the way to some more advanced tactics and training for people that have owned firearms for years. So that's really awesome. And we've got a couple other things that we're excited to roll out in 2024 for our members in our community. So.
That's awesome. And where can people find you? Do you have any social media, Instagram, website?
They can find me at usago.org. That's kind of where I live. I've got some personal, Facebook and Instagram, things like that. And, Taylor Wood, you can look that up. But as far as like following me for any other reason, man, they need to be following you, right? Like you're the guy to be following, figuring out you're blazing a trail in terms of entrepreneurship and living life above the norm, we'll say, and kind of going after your goals and your passions in a way, in a business way, right? And that gives you the ability to serve and to lead and to live in a way that's helpful for the community, that's helpful for the world, that glorifies the Lord. We talked about that earlier. So all those things, man, that's good. But yeah, follow you, keep following Alex. That's my tidbit.
I like it. No, thanks for the recommendation. And I'll add one more note to wrap up this interview that, like you mentioned, when people are doing things out of serving, having a mission, helping other people, those are really the best memories that people have. And it's also something where people can't feel like they're suffering and they're disappointed when they're truly looking to help other people, no matter what the situation is. The only time that we feel like, oh, I'm not doing well, I'm suffering, or I'm just not feeling it, is when we're thinking about us. Like, oh, I lost that client, or I should have signed them up, or this month I made less money than last month, whatever it may be. And so I do think a lot of people heading into 2024 really should try to just shift and say, how can I not just focus on growing my business so I can make more money, so I can do X, Y, or Z, or I can buy a new car, a new house. How can I grow my business, but to serve other people, to help them achieve whatever their mission is, their goal, and their desired outcome, and everything else from there tends to work out a lot better.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. I think that when the shift happened for me and we focused on building a community so that we could serve a lot of people with content, training, and just the relational aspect of being in a community, that's when I said we had a shift in the business. Then that allowed me to lay the foundation and the groundwork to exit. So that gave me the security, so to speak, of my focus is serving this community. And what came from that, the fruits that came from that financially were, what allowed me to exit the corporate world. So it was very interesting because, yeah, you're exactly right. It's a huge paradoxical thing, or the irony of like you're focusing on yourself, like I've got to make this work, all me and internal. But then if you take that shift and you say, "Go, how can I serve this person to the best of my ability? How can I make sure that they are successful, or that they win, or they get the training X, Y, and Z that they need?" And you put all your focus there, like you're going to deliver a product that's valuable. And when you do that, and especially if you can spread that amongst multiple people and replicate that and duplicate that and expand that, like that's when you start to win in business.
100%, Taylor. I love that we capped off the interview with that. So, no, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we have you again soon.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Yep. Thanks, Taylor. Talk soon.
All right. See you.